All right, we are live. I am a minute late. I apologize. I hope you guys are all doing well. Today, I want to talk a little bit about fundamentals, what's moving the market. We'll check the charts. I'll answer any questions you have. But this week so far has been pretty interesting. I've also, if there's any problems with the stream, you guys can let me know in the comment section. I was streaming at 7:20, so I've upped that a little bit. Don't know why it was at 7:20, but all that to say, so far this week has been kind of interesting. It's been very interesting. We started out with last Friday the huge sell-off with the news of the new variant. Monday we kind of bounced back a little bit from that, and then yesterday things tanked again. So Monday was really driven from yesterday actually was really driven from the Moderna CEO saying that it is unlikely that the current vaccines are going to work against the new variant. And then on top of that, we had some Powell news. He's more hawkish than expected. So people were thinking that with the new variant, the Federal Reserve might not hike rates in next summer, in the upcoming summer. Doesn't look like that's the case. He's remaining pretty hawkish, so they are going to hike rates, maybe even sooner than expected. And throughout the entire pandemic, they've been using transitory as the term to discuss inflation, to relate to inflation, and he is getting rid of that term. He's saying that inflation is kind of not transitory anymore, which all of us already know. Things are getting pretty expensive, so they're going to start to need to make some changes. So I'd like to go over the news. We'll scroll through it a bit because I haven't really looked too in-depth yet this morning as to what's going on. Then we'll hop into the charts. If there's anything that you guys want me to look at specifically, let me know and I would be happy to do that. Dan, thank you for tuning in. So we'll hop onto the charts. Perfect. Let's clean up everything here. So first off, let's go to Forex Live, see what's going on there. Forex Factory has been good as well. Okay, so here we have December seasonals. So this will be, let's take a quick look at this because it is December 1st. So happy December. Season trends in the Forex market and elsewhere in December. So starting out, we know that there's the December bull run, which I'm sure he's going gold back to life exactly. Well, the gold traders should look to buy a dip in mid to late November. Most retail traders at this point, I think, are aware of that. I'm just going to quickly adjust the stream settings. I do apologize. I have an old laptop. It's starting to make a fair bit of noise. Okay. Okay, so gold back to life. So obviously we want to be looking for some kind of a gold buy as we move into the end of the year. The fact that gold has dropped a fair bit, I think, is going to be pretty opportunistic. We should be able to potentially find something. I don't think anyone can rule out a gold route or an Omicron risk. Okay, stocks moderately positive. So the route in 2018 skews the averages a bit, but the S&P 500 has risen by an average of 0.55% in December. So that's interesting to keep in mind. If the variant doesn't actually play a major impact, then that's going to dictate risk sentiment. Stocks will move higher. So really, we need to keep an eye on the variant news. The dollar is weaker. This is what I was talking about earlier. Powell surprised the market today and gave life to the dollar, but that move has surprisingly faded. Perhaps that's a sign of month-end flows or taste of what's to come for repatriation flows. The dollar has declined in 4 straight years in December. So if we were to read this and say, okay, if I'm expecting a weaker US dollar, how do I want to approach that? Well, first off, we have gold, which does very well in December. So that would be the first way to look at it. For those of you that trade US crosses. I personally don't. You would, of course, want to apply this in terms of building your bias, right? You would want to potentially look more for any shorts as opposed to buys. Euro strength isn't a surprise given the DXY weakness. Natural gas declines. Oil has really dropped significantly lately. Let's just go on the daily. I hope you guys find this helpful. This is just me kind of going through my own process of figuring out what's going to happen, especially since we are in a new month. So I do like to stay on top of seasonals and everything that's going on. So if you don't get a lot of value from this, you can let me know. Fortunately, there are other videos that you could go to, but I do enjoy sharing this kind of process. So yeah, so we've dropped a fair bit on oil. Today we're up 1.55%. But we dropped a fair bit, obviously. Stocks so far are having a positive. So Monday was positive. Tuesday, very negative. Monday, so far, we're positive. We're about 10 minutes away from the New York Open, so we'll have to see how things open. But we're definitely having a bipolar ping pong kind of market. Let's go back here. China refutes report. Anything else? For those of you that don't use Forex Live, what I really recommend it for, well, let me just see here. Yeah, so this is what really moved markets yesterday as well, with Powell's comments that there could be a rate hike in May. So, that's not great for the stock market because companies can't borrow money as cheaply as they've grown accustomed to. But what I was going to say was, for those of you that don't use Forex Live or don't really use fundamentals, I highly recommend you implement it in some form or another. If you were to do the bare minimum, I would recommend you come to Forex Live, you go under more, and then you go under session wraps. And so they have analysts working throughout each session, and so understandably, you are going to miss at least one session when you are sleeping, depending on what time zone you're in. So you can wake up and then they have the session overview, so you can get up to date with what happened, if there's anything major that happened when you were sleeping. So you don't have to read each of these headlines. They usually do a nice little breakdown right here. So this is the European news wrap. So if you wanted to get up to date with the market, as I said, it's been a positive session for risk trades so far. Despite stocks suffering a drop on rate hike fears yesterday, Powell moved things. This helping to see commodity currencies keep a more I can't say that word. Yeah, so Aussie and New Zealand are doing well. We'll chart up gold together to see what's going on, if there's anything major coming up in terms of a trade. So yeah, so all of that to say, so far today, we are seeing a positive risk sentiment, a reverse from yesterday. Again, New York is about to open. That's why I wanted to do this. We'll see what happens. It could continue. It could reverse. We're not up huge, 0.7%. So we're definitely pulling back here. We broke through that 61. This is the daily. We're bouncing perfectly from this 200 SMA. Let's just draw our fib to see where we're potentially going to bounce from. These two moving averages are right in between the 23 and the 38. So, somewhere, I'm not actually going to be taking a trade, but somewhere around here is going to be a resistance that we're going to need to break. I don't know if we'll come all the way back up to 61. Your guess is as good as mine, but the chart is interesting, so we'll want to keep an eye on that. I would draw a trend line from here. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at gold together. It's up 0.84%. Is there anything that we could take a trade on? I'll just check the chat quickly. I hope things aren't too laggy or anything. Holistic Strength, I love the name. Yeah, I'll definitely take a little bit more in-depth view at US 30 for you. Rob, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Okay, so we'll start off with gold here. So again, we'd be operating under the idea that we're more interested in taking a buy than a sell because of the seasonals. That does not mean that a sell is totally out of the realm of possibility. Seasonals don't always work. But that's something that we're going to use to develop our bias. We would want to combine it with DXY as well to see if DXY is on any kind of major support or resistance. Let's take a quick look at the weekly though, just to see if there's anything vastly major. I think we have an updated trend line from here, which we do. I would place it right down here. Okay, so that's the weekly. We've got this trend line now. The next weekly moving average is this guy right here. So we'll want to keep an eye on that around 1745. I think we've got another trend line here as well, which we bounced from yesterday. We're currently bouncing from. We tested it a few times. In terms of major buy, you know, if we're looking for a key level, we do have a key level at 1745. These wicks here, over here as well. It kind of goes up to 1750, 1745. It's not the strongest. Like, there's nothing screaming out to me like this is the buy. You know, let me put it at 1750. At 1750. $17.50 to $17.45 is definitely the key level. All of these touches here. Start drawing some fibs. I know this fib isn't valid because we broke through, but it is the major. It is the major low, so I'm gonna put it just to keep an eye on it. We have bounced. We've somewhat respected it. We have the 50 here. Potentially, you could argue that we're just bouncing off of the trend line, but the 50 fib is there. So this 61. Tricky. Again, there's nothing that's screaming, you know, a buy. That's not to say it's not gonna move higher. But we've got this here. Let's draw another fib from this area. And we've got the 78 just above. So we've got the 61, 78 fib plus key level slash round number 1750. It's like a half round number, so don't hate on me in the comments. It's not a full round number, it's a half round number. Kind of a bigger-ish zone there, but this is the area that I would want to keep my eyes on. Let's take a look at a sell. A sell will definitely be easier because we have a clean fib from this area. We've retraced to the 23. We're stuck with all of these moving averages, so I'm not interested in taking any kind of trade here. We would need some sort of breakout, but we have this key level, which I'm sure all of you can see, and the 61 fib. So this is the area that if we were to push up to, depending on the fundamentals, of course, because this would be against seasonals, and it could potentially be against fundamentals as well, depending on what happens with the variant news. This is the sell that I would be most interested in. So that's a 1835, 61 fib plus key level. Could potentially be, you know, something on the weekly. Take a quick little look. Yeah, there's not really anything, but very nice key level. So those are the two immediate areas that I have. Oh, here, very important that I add weekly EMA. So that makes me much more confident in this zone, actually. I forgot about that. That's why we have those horizontal blue lines. So this guy right here. So that is actually a pretty strong area. It's a larger area, you know, it's a 500 pip area, so You need to adjust your pending and your stop loss accordingly. Where do you set the pending? Depends on your risk. You know, are you willing to take the risk of missing the trade, but have a worse risk to reward, or are you willing to take the risk of missing the trade but have a better risk to reward? So that is that there. Do you guys have any questions regarding this chart? Any areas that I'm looking at? Holistic strength. Do I tend to scalp or swing trade for the most part? I wouldn't say either. More of a day trade. If you consider scalping, you know, I don't consider scalping like going for like 30 pips, 50 pips. If that's scalping to you, then yeah, I guess I scalp. I'm thinking of scalping as more like 5 pips, you know, 10 pips type of trading. I don't do that. So it'd be a combination of day trading and swing trading. I did a lot more swing trading when I first started. It's a little bit more fundamental heavy, so it takes a little bit more work. I think you can make more money doing it if you do it correctly. It's difficult to do. Something that I'll be trying to do a little bit more in the new year. Okay, let's just scan through. Let's see what's going on with the open. US 30, we're still moving up a bit. The Nikkei is up 1.45%, but we're pulling back here. The Nikkei has been dropping more than the US 30. And I gotta tell you, I don't love how this is looking in terms of if you had a bullish bias. You know, we've broken through all of these moving averages. We dropped significantly, and now we're retracing. This 38 is right at this 200 EMA. Not a great sign. You could use this, even if you don't trade it, you could use it in terms of your yen crosses. So inversely correlated, the Nikkei and the yen are inversely correlated. So if this is going to drop, the yen will strengthen. GJ is going down, EJ is going down. I'd actually like to take a look at EJ. We just can't break this support at 128.3. Or just 128 overall. We just cannot break it. So we get some kind of a pullback to that 38. I would take it. But who's to say? Lots of opportunities though. Lots of opportunities. So I've taken 2 trades this week. Both have been winners, a little bit better than last week. On Monday, I had 2 missed trades. I missed Euro, Aussie, and GCAD. GCAD I missed by like 2 pips. So that's pretty frustrating. Perhaps I need to refine how I set my pending slightly. I did make a minor mistake on GCAD. I set my pending at the first confluence. The moving average, I went to bed, and then when I woke up, the moving average had moved slightly above my pending where it was set, and then the market only bounced from the moving average. So I was like 2 or 3 pips shy of getting triggered. Unfortunate, it did go on to do a good handful of pips, multiple handfuls of pips. Is this area here. But the trades that I have taken, pound yen and pound Aussie. So pound yen, I know a few traders that I've been helping out took this trade, which is really, really nice. Kind of catching a falling knife, 149.8. But again, the 0.8 and the 0.2 on GJ are the psychological levels. You need to know that if you're trading GJ. It's not 149, it's not 148, 0.2, 0.800. So this has really done some nice pips. The traders I've been helping, they've been holding runners, doing super, super well there. So I like that. We've got this 61 that's, coming up. The moving averages aren't quite there. Let's take a look on the daily. The moving averages on the daily are looking pretty sweet. So 152.4. 152.4 is the trade, folks. 152.4. Put your pendings in. This is not financial advice. Don't sue me if it doesn't work, but 152.4 is looking pretty nice. Little key level there. Not a little key level, pretty nice key level. 61 fib, 200 EMA. The other trade that I took was on pound Aussie, which I do not see in my watch list for whatever reason. Let's pull that up. So we took a buy, which you'll be able to see clear on the 4 hours at 1.86. I hope some of you guys took it. It did do a little bit of drawdown. It had about 25 pips of drawdown, but it turned out to work quite well. So we have the 61 fib from here. These two moving averages is the 50 and the 800. 50 on the 4 hour, it's not the strongest, but 800, super strong. And you can see on pound Aussie that the 800 does work quite well. Trend line, third touch, and huge key level round number. So plenty of confluences to give you the confidence to take that trade. So that is running quite nice. There was this lower area here, which was interesting. I didn't have a pending set. But it was a zone of interest. And so I had to decide, you know, what was the better trade to take. And just because 1.86 had more confluences, that's the one that I took. Okay, so we can delete this. Don't want to confuse you guys. Assuming we don't make a new high, I'm looking at 1.85. Key level, I believe it's at 38. It's the more major 38 fib. So good area to watch out here for. So I gave you the GJ, I gave you the pound Aussie. Hopefully those work out, but so far it's been a good week. Let's hop back over to US 30. I've got the 800 EMA here, so we'll see what happens. You guys have any questions? Perfect. Alex, thanks for tuning in, man. CE, hey, do you not find it easier having weekly and daily setups on separate charts? Yes, I absolutely do find that easier. I used to chart up earlier in the year on C-Trader. So when I first started trading a few years back now, I did TradingView. I just couldn't chart up on C-Trader, but I ended up getting used to it. And I had a PC, I had a really bad PC, and my friend gave me a MacBook Air. It's a little bit older now. But unfortunately, I do not know why. They don't have the desktop version of C-Trader on Mac. Super disappointing. Hopefully it comes out eventually. And I just don't love the web version of C-Trader. That's my long way of saying when I did use C-Trader, I would have a weekly chart and a daily chart and a 4-hour chart separated. It doesn't work as well in TradingView, so I keep them all kind of together. Thomas, thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate it. So we've gone over a few good things so far. We'll check on the news again, see if there's any updates. What's going on with Forex Factory? U.S. private sector employment increased by 534,000 jobs. Yeah, I read this morning that CPI, so the consumer price, or it was consumer confidence, is at like a 10-year low. So that's not looking great. This is what I was talking about here, fragile calm returns. It is definitely fragile. We'll see what happens today. Powell's anti-inflation rhetoric ratchets up. He injected a particularly hawkish signal into the mix in his testimony. Yeah, there are two forces that are shaping developments. Travel restrictions are being tightened. Big red flag. You know, I was planning on traveling to Florida this winter, and you know, it looks like that's not going to happen. So, and I'm just, you know, a regular guy, so I can only imagine, you know, in terms of businesses and whatnot, the impact that is happening with restrictions tightening. A new variant is being found in more countries. Yeah. So keep your eyes on that. UK manufacturing. Okay, so I think really for now we just need to keep an eye on how the stock market is going to react and move for the rest of the day. That is going to dictate risk sentiment. Oil as well will be really important to watch, especially if you trade like GCAD or anything CAD related. Not looking great, but for the time being, the only other trade that I had close, I don't know why my watch list got messed up. I don't have Euro Aussie. There was a setup on Euro Aussie that I was looking at, but I think that was the only setup for today. So I can show you guys that. Okay, so the setup that I had, or have, is right here, I believe, at 1.57. Things are a little messy right now, as you can see. Yeah, okay, so that 38 fib. Okay, so we've got this area up here for a sell at 1.6. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. Check out 1.6 on your chart. The zone is wide though, so look to see why the zone is wide, what are the confluences. And so as you can see, these are 3 different options. Each box represents a different option for where you can set your pending, how you can approach the trade. So that is not going to hit today, obviously. So the buy that we have is, I can delete these fibs. You can see the 100 drawn from here, so it's this 50 fib. Probably looks invalid on the daily, but on the 4 hour it's pretty clear. So we've got this bullish move here. So the 50 fib is coming up. We've got this 4 hour EMA, but there is more to the picture. We have those daily moving averages, which are really looking nice. We're bouncing from the daily 200, so hopefully we come down and we touch it. There's still potential for today, and as you can see, we've got this guy right here, the daily 38. Okay, so 38, 2 moving averages, minor 50 fib, so it starts out at 1.576 area. So you guys can determine where you want your pending to be set, where your stop to be set, but that should give some pips. So those are a few solid setups that hopefully you guys can take advantage of. GJ, EA, and GA. There was another one, but hopefully that makes sense for you guys. You can check those out for yourself. Check to see. Yep, Thomas, I was correct about 1.865 on GA. I appreciate that, but hopefully some of you guys caught it. You know, me just saying, you know, I was right. Doesn't really do anything for you guys if you didn't take it. Last killer, GJ. We did go over GJ, so just take a look at that. Yeah, see, they've been promising a Mac version for a long time for C-Trader. I don't know why they can't just come out with it. It would be, there's so many people using Macs, I don't know what the thing is. Let me just take a quick look, Dan, before I answer your question. Thomas just said GA tapped, 865. Yeah, that was the trade that I took, 865. 865. Yeah. 86. Oh, you're looking for a sell. Yeah, I'm not looking for a sell. I'm assuming you're looking for a sell, but yeah, 865, or maybe it's just because you're in profit, which is great. Dan had a question. When price hits our level, do you expect it to reject strongly if it starts screwing around for too long a bit like GA did? How do you manage it? Do you bail out or just wait? Super good question. I am not an expert at this. I am still working through it. I was working through this last night because, to your point, GA did about 25 pips of drawdown. It was 11 o'clock my time. I was still up. I was watching it. And I had the thought this morning that the best trades that I take are usually the ones when I'm sleeping. So maybe ask yourself, if you want to adjust it, you know, what would you do if you were sleeping? The answer is probably going to be nothing. So I do think that the key is whatever you do, you have to do it consistently. So if you have a rule of, okay, my stop loss is 30 pips and I do 25 pips of drawdown, I'm going to aim for break even. That's totally fine. But I think you need to do that every single time. You can't say, okay, I'm going to do it this time and I'm going to do it next time, because then your edge won't play out as efficiently or as effectively as it would if you were consistent. I also had this thought last night, you know, when I was at like 15 pips of drawdown and I was like, oh, I'm going to move my stop to break even. If you do that, really essentially what you're saying is that you can only have a winning trade if the trade does not experience drawdown. Because if you're using a 30 pip stop loss and you do 5 pips of drawdown and then it hits TP, that's great. But if you get halfway to your stop loss and you're at, you know, negative 15 pips and you're like, I'm going to aim for break even, you will never have a winning trade that first experiences drawdown, which is kind of stupid because it's just to think that your winning trades will have a very minimal drawdown. Like, drawdown is normal. Every zone, every area is a zone. Like, it's not an X price. So I'm working through that too. I think the best thing would probably be to take the approach that less is more, right? Don't play with it as much. I don't know for you, but my best trades are usually when I'm sleeping. So keep that in mind. I'm just checking the time because I have a call with a student, but we're